am so excited about this conversation today. It's going to be so epic because the conversation that we're gearing towards, I really don't have any understanding about these things. So I'm definitely going to rely heavily on you to help us with understanding about imports and exports and what does this mean about this tariff? What is the word tariff? Um, so it's really one of those things that's kind of fascinating because before all this came about, I don't even think I knew what a tariff was. I'd never even heard of the term tariff. So I
Mhm.
was like, what is that? And I don't think that I'm the only person out there that may have felt the same way. I'm really curious if others already knew because I sure had no clue. But for anybody who is just joining the channel for the first time, I am Mrs. Trouble, and I'm here with my special guest today. And we're going to talk about some things that's concerning what's going on right now with all these tariffs. What does that mean for us as consumers? And especially, what does that mean for us who are gun enthusiasts? So, I'm going to have my guest tell us a little bit about herself as we jump into this in a moment. Just want to make sure people get a little bit of time to jump in here first. So, Mad Woman 23, thank you so much for coming. Hey, hey, hey. So, I'm just really like, this is such a topic that I'm like, how do we get through this? Because at one hand, we're looking at this like it's really a negative thing because lots of people are talking about how the cost of things are going to go up. But on the other hand, I'm seeing some positivity in the sense that this might just push us, that might be just the push we need to actually buy USA made. That might be the push that some of us need to be entrepreneurs, although it could be a really difficult time to start a business at this time. But depending on what your business is, maybe it'll be lucrative. So for me, I'm still seeing some positivity in this whole thing, even though it's a lot of negativity to think about.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking we got some people that's joining in now. So I want to give them just a few more time to just jump in there first before we get started with this so people can really know what this is about and who we have here as a special guest on Shoot the Shish because this is amazing. We have a specialist that's going to be able to break these things down for us in language that we would understand. Believe it or not, it's going to be language we understand because if I sit there and try to read some of these tariffs and policies about imports and exports, I'm sure I'd be completely confused. I'm I'm sure I wouldn't be able to understand it. It would feel like a whole nother language to me. So I'm going to go ahead and have you introduce yourself, Miss Jamil. Thank you so much for joining. Give us your name, what's your business, and a little bit of background about what it is that you're doing out here every day.
Hi everyone. My name is Jermeale Lewis-Johnson. I'm the CEO and founder of Just Your Broker Inc. I'm a customs broker. So I help with customs clearance when they import and export. Most of my clients import. Our main commodities that we deal with are vehicles, plants, live animals like dogs and cats, clothes, food, different things like that. So there's a lot of different regulations that I deal with.
Did
But
you say dogs and cats?
yes, yes, dogs and cats. Yeah. We actually have a pet facility. I'm close to JFK. We have a pet facility over here where the dogs and cats come into. So you know how people are about their animals, very serious. So
That
yes.
makes sense.
Mhm.
Yeah, I love the movie. What is it? A Pet's Life. No, A Secret Life. What is it? What is that movie? I love it. It's a cartoon movie with Kevin Hart
I
in
know
it.
what you're talking about.
Secret Life of Pets. That's what it is. I think. I absolutely love that movie, and it makes me think about that when you said that because you're talking about in New York and people having
Yeah.
pets and things like that. So I'm just like that. That makes a lot of sense. I
Hmm.
think they did a great job on that movie if that's the case.
Yeah.
Yeah. So let's see. Going to the chats here, I see Madwoman 23 said, "Is there anything U.S. made at this point?" Well, you got a
There,
point.
there is plenty of things US made. But I think the US, we're known for being a country that imports. Whenever you go to the store, you buy stuff like your fruits, your vegetables, your clothes. A lot of things are made overseas. I think just because of the price points, they get it for a cheaper rate, so they can
Mhm,
make more of a profit. And everyone's all about profit here. So, but
mhm.
we do export. There are people that export. I actually had someone contact me the other day about exporting caviar. So we do export things too.
Wow. Well, yeah, Michael, I guess it's news to you just like it's news to me. And yeah, apparently she is out here pushing animals. I mean, well, like you said, people love their animals, and so they may have become citizens, and now they are over here, living over here. They need to bring their pets with them. So I
Hmm.
guess that makes sense when you think about
Yeah.
it from that standpoint.
Hmm.
Man, it's a big melting pot. That's what it definitely is. Honestly, just where people from all over coming here, bringing things with them that's making them feel more comfortable, making them feel good about being here in the United States. So I guess I understand
Yeah.
that. No, we're not out here eating the dogs and eating the cats, Michael. I see you over there. Trying to hit around that. I see that. So when it comes to these tariffs and things that's happening right now, one of the things that I found quite interesting is the fact that we have certain places in the world that we're charging more than others. Can you talk to me a little bit about what states it is, and maybe is there a why that you, or a speculation as to why the tariffs could be higher in one place versus another?
Um, well, it's all like political, honestly. Like we're all competing with each other. The tariffs that I know the reason why our president put some of them in place was to basically get everyone to buy more American made stuff, not to import as much. Um, his mindset was that we'll get more jobs, things like that. Um, but there's actually been a Federal Reserve study on it, how people lost jobs, it affected farmers, different reasons. But I do understand why he's doing it. It's just that, of course, it always depends on how you do it. Like your strategy might change. So I think every time you should always check to see, are you getting the return on your investment, or what you're doing, is it and look into that. I don't know how much they're really looking into it. Um, Sometimes the tariffs do work. There was actually something, I think with Colombia, I believe there was something with the Colombian president where there was an he didn't want to accept the migrants back to in Colombia, and
Mhm.
Trump was about to impose tariffs, and then he was about to. So they actually, Colombia president actually backed down. So tariffs do work. Like if you, it does work in the country if they want to, you know? So
Mhm.
it's a leveraging tool. That's how I look at it. Tariffs are a leveraging tool right now. He's going back and forth with China, and you see China keeps going. So it's a back and forth thing. Honestly, it's pretty entertaining. I like reading about it. And then my clients message me like, hey, they know about stuff before I do. So they'll message me like 245%. I'm like, what are you talking about? And then I'm like, great, now I got to do more reading. So it's been a lot of reading, trying to stay up to date with everything that's going on. I have a spreadsheet actually on my computer that I try to update whenever there's increases. It's a You can't remember everything, honestly. There's no way. So much going on with these tariffs. It's confusing, honestly, sometimes.
Yeah, I would bet it is,
Mm.
honestly. Now that I see we have a few people in here, I want to go ahead and just kind of reiterate for anybody who may not be aware of what a tariff is. Can you give us a good explanation of a tariff?
Sure. So a tariff is basically like a tax. So when the goods are imported from overseas, most products, not everything, but most products have a tariff on. Well, right now everything does. So they have a tax on it. So what happens is, like right now, I'm working on a webinar right now for one of my clients, but they import plush toys from India. So right now, India technically would usually be free, no duty, no customs duties, no customs tax, but because Trump has imposed a 10% on all countries, they have to, anyone that's importing it has to pay the 10% tariff on it. So that tax rate, whatever the price is, you multiply that by the percent or whatever it is, and that's your customs duties that you have to pay. So depends certain free trade agreements, because the U.S. has agreements with different countries like U.S., Canada, and Mexico. We have, but you can see there's some tariffs with that right now too. But if you qualify for the free trade agreement, you don't have to pay some of those taxes. So there's different things that you could do to avoid taxes. But right now, like everything is kind of crazy right now. You just got to make sure you read through the regulations and comply with whatever free trade agreements or whatever thing that you could do to avoid the extra tariff.
Okay, okay. Well, thank you for that. That definitely gave me a great understanding of this in case I had any misunderstanding. And I really hope that that helped. And I'm pretty sure that helped many out there. So this is going back to the chat box area for a quick second here. Big Dad 444, she ain't interested. Nah, I don't know if you're interested or not. I ain't gonna speak for you, but yeah, you are beautiful, and we have
Thank you.
beautiful guests that come on the show. I'm so honored to have you here. And I see Heckler Garcia. You said, so how does this help us? It must be a reason why it's he's doing this. So Heckler, I think you might have just missed a few minutes. Let me just have you re-say this, Jermeale, for him when you were explaining some of the reasons for the tariffs that might be able to answer some of those questions that Heckler is having here.
So how does it help us? So what happens is when you know there's tariffs on certain countries, like right now the highest tariffs are on China. Would you keep importing from China? Know that you're going to pay way more money? Probably not. So you might. One of the things I tell people, I just did actually an in-person event on Wednesday at TD Bank in Manhattan. So basically, what you want to do is you don't want to have all your supply chain, all your products coming from one country. You should diversify the countries that you're importing from that have different country of origins. Only because, let's say, he decides to impose tariffs, higher tariffs on another country decided to use as your backup, like Vietnam or whatever. And let's say he put 25% on Vietnam. If you only have a limited amount of sourcing from certain countries and he changes it up the next week, now you're kind of like you're paying more money again. So you have to diversify so you don't spend. You got to think about all those things. Right now, China's at 145% extra, but that doesn't include the extra 25% he put back on when he was president the first time. So you got
Mhm.
to think about that. Okay, what type of product are you importing? What's the customs duties? Think about the country of origin, like China, or what it's made out of. Certain items, not everything, but certain items for aluminum and steel have extra tariffs. So you need to think about the whole big picture because it's going to cost you more money. And when you pay more money, now you're losing out on profits. You're going to want to put that money back on your clients, the people that are purchasing from you, but they're not going to want to take it on. So you might end up losing business. So you got to think about that. If you're a gun seller, you're going to think about, do I want to keep importing from a country that the tariffs are too high, that I can't keep any of my profits? That's not what you want to do.
Right, right. That
Mhm.
makes a lot of sense. So let's see. Someone said they don't really get it, but kinda. Okay, so people just buy direct and forget the U.S. Is it true? China stopped shipping to us.
China has stopped with certain products. I read online the other day. I
Hmm.
think they're targeting certain industries. I guess so those industries will probably put pressure on the president. That's probably what it is. So
Yeah,
yeah, so that's like I mean it's a great strategy when you think about it. So we'll see if it works. We're gonna be waiting. Keep watching the news. We'll see what happens.
yeah. The way I see it, China need us just like we need them,
Of course,
and vice versa.
we all need each other.
Yeah, we're very dependent on one another. Honestly, we're supplying them with money. They're supplying us with materials and products and whatnot. And yeah, we got to come to some terms here because just to
Mhm.
stop import export deals is like that's crazy. That's madness.
Yeah,
I don't think any of us will benefit from stopping.
of
Honestly,
course.
yeah. So
Hmm.
yeah, they're just playing. They're playing chess right now. That's the way I see it. And we just gotta sit back and listen to the news and pay attention because we gotta see what's going on. It's a whole show they're putting on for us
Hmm.
right now. Yeah. So DMV renovations, you said I've been waiting for this. So does this help the mom and pop stores? So
Honestly, I think the people that get hit the hardest are the mom and pop stores. You guys, if you don't have like a big clientele to balance out with the tariffs, some companies are going to shut down, just like they did during the last time when the tariffs went into place. It does affect a lot of industry. Um, you're not going to be able to afford to keep up with the bigger companies that can order in bigger in bulk. You know,
mhm.
it's most definitely going to affect mom and pop stores. You got to see how to try out different strategies and leverage different ways to keep up. Honestly,
Yeah, that is going to be an interesting change to see. I mean, if I'm buying from a small FFL dealer, local FFL dealer, I can only imagine how that's going to hit them hard and how they'll have to raise the prices to
mm,
me as a consumer. And That would definitely be hard, honestly. Because
Hmm.
that only forces you to go to buy to the big companies when
Yeah.
something like that is happening because you can get a lower price. Wow, that's unfortunate. So I hope this is a short-lived situation and we figure things out, honestly, because I don't know, because COVID hit so hard that we're
Hmm.
still feeling it today, and that
Of
was
course.
years ago when that came and how things were shut down and so forth. I mean, we're even having big companies shut down. Like, I know I had a Big Lots in my area that shut down, a Fridays that shut down, and um, there was one other. Oh, a CVS is closing as
Oh,
well.
wow.
Yeah, so it's like, okay, these locations are closing, and these are big time companies, and this is years after COVID, and they're still feeling the effects of it. So I'm hoping they can figure out this tariff thing that doesn't disrupt us, even more, because people are still not even completely recovered rather from COVID hitting.
Mm, true.
Yeah. So let's see. DMV renovations. Who was next? Somebody else did something. What did I miss? Okay, so okay, Michael, you said so. I have the BMW. If I need parts overseas, will it cost me more?
Yes, I believe he did tariffs on auto parts and vehicles.
Mm.
Yes, I think it's 20. I think it's 25%. I would have to look at my list, but I think it's 25%. I've never seen that. I haven't had I actually clear vehicles with customs, but I haven't had any tariffs went into effect for the vehicles. So I think I think it's 25.
So what I'm hearing is if you have a vehicle problem, you might want to go ahead and get your vehicle fixed as soon as possible, hoping that the parts are already there and they don't have to order them.
Yeah. Well, I think some strategies some people have been trying. Some importers they've been. I heard of Apple. Apple decided to ship a whole bunch of iPhones in or something like that before the tariffs went into effect. So, if you have a company that was paying attention to what's going on, they got all these things in early enough, then hopefully they don't have to raise the price. Hopefully for a year if they planned ahead. So,
Mm,
yeah.
that's a good, yeah, that's very possible that they might have been able to do that. Hopefully
Mhm.
so. Wow. Dang, I didn't even think about this one. Meta 101 is saying, well, hey, first of all, what about medication? So do you ship any medications?
Well, I haven't cleared any medication in a while, but I do. Honestly, everything's going up because remember that blanket 10% tariff. So that's
Mhm.
on all countries. So it doesn't matter. You would have to probably the only way maybe is a free trade agreement. That's probably
Mhm.
about it. And you have to make just very strict guidelines to complying with the free trade agreement. So you really want to make sure you write that read through all the regulations you have to comply with because what they'll probably do is probably start auditing companies because they know people are gonna like say it meets the free trade agreement and it doesn't. So they'll be doing stuff like that. They
Wow.
always check. So just be mindful. Keep your paperwork in order.
That is crazy. I mean, they're gonna go ahead and put these stuff out there, then they're gonna say, "Oh, I'm gonna double check everything."
Mhm.
I guess we gotta have checks and balances with everything. I
They
guess.
have to.
Yeah, yeah. I guess that makes sense. So, well, while we have just a quick second here, I want to go ahead and say that if you're just joining for the first time, first of all, I'm Mrs. Trouble, and I have here with me just Jamel, and we are definitely talking about all these tariffs out here. But this is only one thing that we're talking about here on this channel. So if you like the content that you see so far, definitely go ahead and press that subscribe button, and you want to make sure you press the notification button too, because you won't get notification that we're going live on any given conversation Fridays at 8 p.m. If you don't have that notification already put. And then also go ahead and give us a thumbs up for this video. So when people do see this video in their little, windows there, they'll see that it's definitely something worthwhile checking out. So I really appreciate the support and love from everybody. So I appreciate that. So now that we understand what tariffs are and what things are really going to be affected, um, basically everything is going to be affected. Can we talk a little bit about Canada? Like, because they're the closest to, they're connected to us. And from my understanding, I was reading a little bit of something, but I'm not sure if I understand it enough to even speak on it. Is there
Mhm.
anything you could tell me about Canada as this tariff thing is related?
At this point, what I've seen by reading through the messages is that if you can qualify the USMCA, that's the United States Mexico Canada agreement. Um, it's basically like a free trade agreement. If you qualify, you can still get that. I think there's a lot of exceptions for certain, which telling you, it's a lot. I have to do a lot of reading just to really manage. Like I said, every time I work on one shipment, I'm going over the multiple lists because
Mhm.
I have to look over. It depends on the country of origin, the type of product, and there's some exemptions that they don't have to do that. So it takes up so much time to do one thing. Um, but main is if you qualify for a free trade agreement, you can still get it. But if not, then the 25%, I think it is. I think it's under 25%. There's so many,
Whew.
and there's like I said, there are exemptions. If you're planning to import a product, if you qualify for the exemption, make sure you make note of it and look it over. When I work on shipments with my clients, I like to go through all my lists, send them the entry summary. Basically,
Mhm.
before I it basically shows customs what I classified the product as,
Mhm.
the duties and everything that's listed on there. I have the client confirm that I'm using the right classification number for the customs duty so that they can double check. But like I said, it's so much to keep up with. They probably just trust what I say, but I always make sure they look it over just to make sure it's correct.
That makes sense. I mean,
Mhm.
honestly, it seems like it's a very challenging field to be in. Whereas you have to sit there, you have to read a lot of information that's constantly changing. I mean, it sounds like no different than someone being a lawyer, because honestly, the law is
Yeah.
always changing, and you got to do a lot of reading. And that, whoa, that. How do you sleep at night? Do you sleep?
I it's kind of stressful right now. So Uh, but when you mentioned the lawyer, I actually do work for a lawyer sometimes. So I do help out lawyers with compliance, like reading. 'Cause I'm more specialized in customs regulations, so they might tap on me for certain knowledge. Sometimes even when I'm calling customs, I'm kind of educating them sometimes in some of the regulation. One time, one officer even told me, "Hey, can you write that down for us?" Like, what? So, when you become a customs broker, it's a lot. You do have to deal with a lot of different regulation. It is constantly changing. If you guys seen my emails, it's crazy. I have like folders, just the customs messages that come in there, and then reading through the White House messages with the executive orders, the federal order. It's a lot to keep up with. It's hard to stay up to date on everything. So
Mhm.
sometimes, like depending on what the I know there's tariffs on like vehicles. I didn't read over the vehicle regulations until more so recently, the changes, the tariffs, because I wasn't clearing vehicles at the time. So I'm like, let me focus on China, the aluminum,
Mhm.
steel, Mexico, like, and make my list for that. And when I hear about it, like one of my clients weren't going to ship their wine because he was talking about putting tariffs on European wine. So I'm like, oh, when she mentioned it to me, I'm like, now when it's time to clear wine, I got to look up the rules to see if there's any changes with wine. So
Mhm.
you just gotta kind of like adapt, sleep when you can, but get sleep. Not right now, at least.
Yeah, I mean that makes sense, because you got to make sure you stay hip, and like you said, they're doing a whole bunch of checks and balances, so you don't want to get audited and have a whole issue. So you got to make sure you do it right. So somebody did ask about, not to be all in your pockets or whatnot. Does these changes mean that you have to increase your prices for what it is you do for your clients?
If what I do, like if it's something quick, I don't charge more. But if it's something that's gonna take up a lot more time, I'll charge a consultation fee.
Hmm.
Some people, once you tell them a consultation fee, they don't want to do it. But I'm like, if you want the information, it's gonna take up more of my time. I have to charge a consultation fee. So
Right.
right now, with everything going on, it's a lot of changes. So
Mhm.
sometimes, like one of my clients will message as soon as they hear an update on the news. I'm like, well, I don't know yet because I didn't even hear about it. So I was like, I'll get back to you. And it takes me some time until I get back to him because I have to wait to read through the messages and check any official messages from the government on it, and then advise. But I tell them, I'm getting the same research you guys have access to. Just that
Mhm.
sometimes I think because I'm used to the way they word everything, I might understand a little bit better. So I'll usually try to break it down once I have time to read it over.
Yeah, that makes sense. Well, I do want to say, hey, Drew. Hey, hey, hey. So, when it comes to thinking about these different countries, people want different things, and people are coming from all over the place. Has there been some items that were just like on a ban list that people tried to get you to import or export?
Oh yeah, I actually had a client. I actually had to stop working with this client actually. So he was importing dead insects like butterflies and beetles from Indonesia, and I had to clear. He has a fish and wildlife permit, so I would clear with that government, and then one day he decided to ship it back. And then I was researching that dead bat EDC. I think it's like a permit or license or whatever. And you have to because they worry about rabies because bats or has ties with rabies. There's a lot of
Mhm.
rules and regulations for that, and it's only allowed for like scientific or educational reasons. Which that's not the reason why he imported it. He was importing for he sells his products on Etsy, so he'd import certain things on Etsy and he'll buy them and put it in like a glass case. You ever seen those butterflies they put in the glass?
Yeah.
That's what he would do. But he just I think that was his first time, at least with me, his first time importing a bat. It's just that when I noticed it, I said right away, like, do you have like the license for it? He didn't have it. So I was like, see if you can get it. But I was like, I don't think he can get it. And he ended up not being able to get it. So the courier that he shipped it with shipped it back to origin because it wasn't allowed.
Wow. So they'll
Yeah.
send something here and it has to go back. I would think that they, maybe wouldn't ship it until it was cleared to come over.
So what happens is they that a lot of people they just ship things. They don't a lot of people don't research before they ship stuff. It
Hmm.
happens I actually have another client with an issue right now, but a lot of people just like, oh yeah, I think they just like can ship anything. So they just ship stuff. They don't look into the regulations before they ship. And that's when you run into problems because there's a lot of rules that you have to follow before you ship something. So his
Oh.
product, it exported out of China. No, out of Indonesia, sorry. Out of Indonesia, perfectly fine, no problem. So I guess they don't have an issue with exporting it. But the
Hmm.
problem is the other countries you're shipping to, like in the US, we have different regulations than probably other countries. So you
Hmm.
have to know the regulations of your exporting country and your importing country. It's not going to be the same. Some things will be allowed to imported to one country that another country might not accept. In the US, we will not accept it unless you meet certain guidelines. And he didn't look that up in advance. And it is the importer's responsibility to look that up in advance. A lot of people don't.
Hmm.
Um, then when you the thing if the person's paying attention and you see it, that's when you have problems. If I had worked the and transmitted it Customs and Fish and Wildlife, they would have I actually looked up an article, they would have put it on hold. It would have been a big deal. And he would
Hmm.
still not have received it and he would have had to get it exported out anyways. They would have denied it.
Wow.
Yeah.
So DMV renovations just asks, where is this information found? Good question.
For the information found for like the one we were just talking about.
Yeah,
Oh, you
like
go
in
on
general, like regulations in
Oh,
general.
regulations, everything. I read over the 19 CFR, that's for customs regulations. But when you're dealing with different government agencies, each one has their own separate regulations. So for fish and wildlife, it's 50 CFR, and USDA, I think it's 7 CFR. There's so many different ones. So it depends. You
Hmm.
have to know what government agencies you have to comply, and then you read for that. Um, a lot of times, like if you type search on, like I searched online for bats, and I forgot the keywords I entered in, but I just Googled it, and it'll pop up. There was an article that they would take it away or something like that. So just doing a quick Google search that'll help you out. You can reach out to a customs broker like myself to ask for the regulations, or you can even contact Customs. Their website is cbp.gov. They have things like form compliance publications, ICPs, that they do sometimes on specialized products. I don't think they have one on the animals, but they have some on like I deal with wine as well. Like their wine shipments. So they have one on alcohols and spirits. They have one on what else do they have? I'm trying to think. I can't remember all of them. I know they have them on apparel. So there's
Hmm.
lots of different ones if you're interested in different types of regulations for your product. Check to see if they have the informed compliance publication on it. Customs does a lot of free webinars, stakeholder engagement that you could watch. I joined them. I have to get educational credits. You can look for your specific commodity and watch a past one to get an idea. One thing that I tell my clients to do if they don't understand the regulations, watch those past videos and email the officers. They put their email in the webinar. You can actually contact them they'll do a one-on-one call with you. You can ask them, "Hey, I'm a new importer. I've never done this before. I really want to understand." Do research first before you contact them because they get a little upset if you come with them with no knowledge. So try to show them that you know it a little bit, and then they'll be more open to giving you information, resources on what you need to do to comply with the regulations.
Hmm. That sounds complicated. I'm gonna call you. I'm just flat out. I'm gonna tell you right now that definitely sounds very complicated, and I'm definitely just gonna call. You guys just need to call. So, do you help people all over the United States or just a particular area?
Well, I have a national permit, so I help people all over the U.S. I do have exporters in other countries that I speak directly to as well. So some of my clients, like I tell them, especially if they're exporters. So one client I got last year, they import essential oils from China. They didn't really know all the processes, so I told them just add me to the email with their supplier overseas. So in China, it's I think it's a 12-hour difference, I believe. But whatever difference it is, I'm usually up late. I work late nights and weekends. So if you add me to the email, I can talk to your supplier, the email corrected. Because sometimes when you wait an extra day for someone to communicate to someone overseas, it's a waste of time. You end up with storage fees, demurrage fees, all these things you don't want to be paying. So I
Right.
add the email, I can get it fixed because I know the terminology they're supposed to know. I'm like, oh, I need you to fix this and this. It makes it a quicker process. It makes it less work for you, and I can make sure I get what I need without wasting the extra time and
Mhm.
get your cleared like right away. So
So, out of curiosity, like, how long does these type of import export checking regulations and getting the product to the client actually take?
researching the regulations, it depends on the product. Take a lot of time, honestly. Right now, someone contacted me. I forgot the name of the product, but it's some type of medical product, and it actually requires like controlled substance actually, so it requires a DEA permit, I believe. So I was researching. I'm still not done. I got to finish that, but I was researching it to see all the regulations that they have to comply with. 'Cause I have to get back to them on that.
Hmm.
It can take actually like a couple of days. Some things can take a little bit longer because sometimes some products require multiple government agencies. So like let's see, like the controlled substance. That one, I don't know about that one in particular. Well, no, that one actually does. That one has customs. It's going to require FDA. Anything you think of that's for human consumption or putting on your skin or anything like that, yeah, FDA. And also a controlled substance, so it's under DEA. So there's different government agencies. So in order for a person to use that product, they have to clear all government agencies. So it's a lot. It's gonna be a lot
Wow.
of paperwork, a lot of compliance rules, stuff like that.
Hmm.
Look into all if something's more detailed. So I do like general, like, if they need permits, stuff like that. Uh, When it gets really, really detailed, I usually connect them with an international trade lawyer because it takes. I can't spend all my time looking through all those regulations. There's a lot of fine details with it. So I'll tell them like labeling. FDA is very big on labeling. They will reject your shipment if you don't meet the labeling requirements. So I tell people when they're a new importer and they meet me, you have to speak to a lawyer for labeling because you can't afford for your shipment to come here and for FDA to reject it because then you have to export it or destroy it. And then you're wasting. So I tell them, pay the money now, get an expert to review it. You don't have to pay it again. Once you know the labeling and meet the labeling requirements, that's
Hmm.
good. So I tell them, do that first before you ship. Make sure everything's compliant. Make sure the manufacturer's registered with FDA. Anything that you're supposed to do, we get that done. Then when it ships, you're good. You don't have to worry. I have one importer in particular got recently. He importing plantain chips from Nigeria. He did not. I noticed that this is the first time I've ever seen this, and I've been in the industry since 2016. His shipment had 3 exams. And I'm like, that's weird. I was like, is this normal? And he was like, I was like, what's the percent of the shipments that go on hold? He told me 50% high. So I was like, you sound like you got compliance issues. And I told him speak to a lawyer. He spoke to a lawyer. I guess the price was too high, but I spent close to like $4,000 on 3 exams. If you're doing this 50% of the time, it's wasting money. So I
Are
try
you
to
saying exams?
for exams. So they did. think it was an X-ray exam, an enforcement exam by customs,
Mm.
another exam with USDA too. So it was
Okay.
three that I like I said, I've never seen that before. And I was like, that's not normal. So I told
Mhm.
you have to get your compliance in order so that you don't run into that issue again. That was crazy. I never seen that.
Right. Wow. So is there racism in this industry? Is that what we might have been dealing with?
Oh no. What happens is I think we notice a lot of compliance issues. Sometimes it's like things will come up, right?
Mhm.
So some people like their paperwork. Like I even when I was going through their paperwork for the shipment, the invoices weren't good. There was a lot of issues that I saw. Like I'm like, well, your invoice doesn't match the piece count on your packing list. I'm like, I can't give this to customs. Like, what's the amount that you actually ship? So a lot of compliance issues, you should do this beforehand. Like I said, before you ship, when I get your invoice, I'm doing documentation review. So I'm making sure that the value adds up properly. I've seen invoices
Mhm.
the value doesn't add up. And I was like, how do you guys calculate this? So the value is not adding up, the piece count is not matching. And then I compare it with the packing list. So if the piece count is off from the packing list, I'm like, well, how much did you actually ship now? Because I need to declare that properly. So when I'm going through all this paper, when I notice it, I'm sure some people might not be noticing it, but what happens if you don't pay attention to those little fine details and then the officer notices it? That's when you run into problems. So I
Mm.
had a client before she imported plants, importing plants from Indonesia, and I noticed the scientific name for her plant wasn't listed properly. On I saw something was missing on her invoice. I was like, oh, what's the scientific name for this? And it wasn't written in her permit. So what happens when you get a permit for plants, the scientific name is listed on there. So it should wait. So I was like, I didn't see it. She was like, oh, use this one. I was like, okay. So I was like, I'm good. She has everything. Turns out because I mentioned it, or she didn't mention it to me after the fact, but I entered everything. They were have to examine the plant. So I have to coordinate with the trucker to get it moved to the site to inspect the plants for pests. So while they were checking, they noticed the signs, the same thing I noticed. They noticed wrong, and she's like, "Well, because you mentioned it to me, I updated it." She had to update her permit because it was missing a sign. So I saved her the time because if I didn't point it out to her and the officer noticed it, it would have delayed her getting her plan even longer. So the documentation review process is very important. I tell people you have to look over your paperwork. Sometimes people just send stuff to me; they don't even look it over. You should look over your invoices and packing lists, making sure they're matched up
Mhm.
or pay a broker to look it over for you. But it
Yeah.
takes time, but you're gonna waste a lot of time and money if you don't do these little steps. Because the officers do notice the discrepancy. So my goal with my company is to find it before the officer does so that we can get it fixed. So hopefully
Mhm.
not to delay your shipment because like I said, it costs money when you get delays.
Wow. I mean, honestly, this is sounding like there's no way I'm going to go to Fiji, for example, and bring back some water or or bring back a beautiful plant. I mean, what this is a lot, honestly. And even if it didn't cost so much, I think I wouldn't even want to go through the hassle of even going through customs and trying to get things examined and approved. Because at the end of the day, it's like, how much do I really need this thing? Do I just need this much? Maybe not. So
Mm.
I think I might be okay with that. I mean, who knows though? It's amazing all the things that we as people are really accustomed to living a certain way and having certain things.
Mhm.
I was reading about like these people who black people who were moving to Africa, and they were moving to, I want to say it was Ghana. I might be wrong. And they got there and they determined that, okay, life is great here in so many ways, and this is why we moved here, but yet I don't have access to all the different options I used to have. Like, I might have 10 furniture stores to go shop at. Well, here is only two. So your options are very limited on certain things in that particular area. And they also experience like maybe there's not an Amazon to deliver to my doorfront, or maybe I don't have that ability to have those type of services like takeout being delivered, delivery services to my home.
Mhm.
So some of those black people decided to move back to the states, but I'm just thinking about them in those situations and thinking about people who are immigrating to America from another country, whereas I can only imagine the things they want to bring along with them because it's their comfort, it's what they're used to, it's what they need and what they want. So when you do have people who are attached to certain things, have you had clients that are really attached to something and then they got told no, they can't import this thing
Mm.
with
Trying to think if I've had anyone. Not that I can think of, honestly, not off the top of my head. So
them? Hmm.
now, um, no, I don't think so.
That's good. That's good. Because I can only imagine like the heartbreak somebody will have if you say, "Oh, you can't bring your pet with you." You know, it's your support animal, I'm sure, but you can't bring that with you. You know.
No, I haven't
So,
had that. Um,
hmm.
had people cry. They didn't realize that they need the customs broker to clear their pets. So
Right.
that's the thing. That's when you deal with people with pets, you realize they get their pet, they're crying on the phone. So it's a little. I'm like, oh my god,
Mm.
tell them.
The waterworks? Oh no.
Yes.
So, DMV renovations. You said, "What can we do to save money?" That is a very excellent question.
So
So, yeah.
okay, so basically, what you want to diversify your supply chain. Look at the countries with free trade agreements that you don't have to pay the tariffs. Um, what else can you do? Look into tariff engineering, where maybe you get you import certain parts that are cheaper, and maybe get them assembled in maybe a foreign trade zone warehouse. I think it's foreign trade, so you have to do that. Foreign trade zone. Just you have to look into different strategies. Honestly.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, thank you. And for DMV renovations, I would say while you can buy in bulk for ammunition, maybe that might be beneficial to try to do that as soon as possible because I would only imagine that the price of ammunition is going to change here soon, given the fact that a lot of these things that we use on a regular basis are imported in as far as the certain metals and steel and brass and copper, all these things that our rounds are made out of. Honestly, I can only imagine that it would be, costing us a little bit more. One of the things that I did learn along the way is, the fact that some of these guns are made overseas and then they're imported over here. So that's also going to affect us. So trying to find some things that are American made will be beneficial and helpful. And then even with that, it still might be a little bit pricey at first, just because there's still the American made product might be also importing. So just because it's made here in America doesn't mean that the material that they use are made here in America. So those are some things that I would say. So definitely saving money by doing some research. That would go a long way. So let's see. Going into these chats here, I'm seeing energetic testing. Thank you so much for joining. Let's see. You said you can bring stuff in, just have the right paper and process is done the things that you want to bring. Okay. And in adjusting testing, you said, let's see, a good read is okay. Thank you for giving that resource with technology relevation. I'm sorry, Revolution by Theodore. I don't know how to say that last name. Kukinski. Kukinski, I think. I think that's right. I hope so. So when it comes to all of these things, I'm just seeing, definitely reading is very fundamental, and that's what I'm getting out of all of this. I mean, they taught this to me as a kid. I hate reading as a kid. I really did. Now you can't stop me from reading. I'm reading everything.
Yes.
I got so offended. I took my kids to a doctor's office. Two times this happened to me. We moved to an area. We've been here for a few years now, but I'm still getting accustomed to the way of life here in some aspects. Okay, now this I thought was the oddest thing. I'm taking them to a doctor's office. We go to the front desk to check in. The young lady is checking us in when she's looking at her computer screen. I can't see her computer screen. It's facing her, not me. And she's like, okay, I'm going to give you this paperwork to fill out by hand, but I need a digital signature for this particular document. And I'm like, okay, great. So she hands me this little thing that I can do a signature on. I'm like, where's the document? What am I signing? You didn't show me anything to sign. I could be signing my child's life away right here. And what am I signing?
True.
Oh, then she has me this laminated paper. And I'm like, okay, what is on your screen? What are you looking at? And what am I signing? So it's so funny how, I took something for granted as a kid and now I read everything.
Yeah.
Honestly, even downloading apps, I'm reading stuff. And even my husband and my kids will get mad with me sometimes. They'll be like, well, why are you reading that? Just download. No, I need to know what this app needs. Like, if it's an app for pictures, what does it need to access the sound of my phone for?
Yeah.
No, cut that off. You know, listening to me while I'm doing something with pictures. Like, so different little things like that goes a long way. And I can see how this is an everyday life for you. Every day. Yeah. And I do imagine that you don't get much sleep as a result. All right, so let's see. We still love the Americans ones though. Okay. Let's see. Love America, but we need my China products. I hear you, Global Glock 45. We need our China products. We so used to, we can't live without them. Let's see. Yes, you're right. Europe and all the nations need to unify. Honestly, I mean, the thing is, we all need one another. There's certain things that people have at this place that maybe we don't have, or we don't have it in the same way. So we could share. We just need to come up with some great terms that benefits us all. And I think one of the things that I take from all of this, as far as the tariffs being raised so far, that I know I heard President Trump mention was that a lot of these other countries, and maybe you can give me some clarification on this. A lot of these other countries were charging us higher tariffs, but we were not charging the same amount. We were charging less. Is that a true statement?
Yeah, I believe that is true. I did when I did see a little bit of was that Liberation Day? Whatever you called it. I did see it, and he did basically impose I think some of the same tariffs back on those countries when he saw what they were doing. So that's why a lot of people, he said, were calling him and trying to make deals because we import a lot of things from those countries, and if we stop, it's a lot of money they're missing out on too. So
Hmm.
yeah, people are gonna make a lot of deals. Hopefully, some of these things clear up soon, sooner than later.
Okay, well, that definitely makes a lot of sense there. So just going back to this chat box area, you guys are wilding out here. I see. So we have a date on the table for you, Miss Pam. Somebody's trying to buy you a drink if you ever in Texas. I hear you. I hear you, Big Dad 444. And then Big Dad 444, I do agree with you that we definitely need to just go to China, visit it, and then just come home with stuff, right?
I, actually, I think there is an exemption. Like I said, I have to look at my list, but is an exemption for some of the things that you carry on your person. I'm not sure if it's for China. Like I said, I've been reading so many different things. There might be,
Mhm,
look it up, but there might be one that carrying with you that you
mhm,
exempt from the tariff. So I'd have to look into it. But like I said, there's so many
mhm.
different exemptions that's been put out there. It's hard to keep up with.
Yeah, I know. I went to China years ago, and I was taking like this martial artist class or whatnot, and we had this sword. It's like a flexible sword, so it wasn't sharp, but it could bend and things like that. So we practiced with that, and I wanted to bring that back home with me. And I did. I remember I had to sign another document or something for that. I was quite young, so I don't remember the details, but I was like, that was interesting. And I remember them telling me that I couldn't bring back like different foods or different
Oh,
plants and things like that. And that was interesting for me to learn because I'm thinking, well, this is a cool plant or this is a cool fruit that I just taste over here I've never seen. And I'd like to bring it home. And they're like, no, you can't do that. So
mhm.
yeah, that just made me think about that. Like, you can't just throw stuff in your bag and just bring it back.
Oh, yeah. So when they do that, you still monitor a lot of things now, only because you can accidentally introduce like those pests into our ecosystem that we don't have, and some of them do a lot of damage. So one of my clients imported um, live plants. In Indonesia. A lot of stuff comes from Indonesia, and the plant pests on it when they were examining it. So it wasn't one of those pests they could treat. So the officer said he would have to export the plants or destroy it. So the importer decided to just destroy it because it wasn't going to make it back alive. I guess the plant to origin. So decided to do that. So you just gotta. It's a lot of different things that they check for. They do have examination facilities to look out for that stuff. They do monitor it. If you guys decide to subscribe to my newsletter, some of those things I post in the newsletter talk about tests that they catch at the airport and all those different places.
How do we subscribe to the newsletter?
So you go on my website is justyourbrother.com, and it should pop up the RSVP thing. Just put your email address in it. I give it out once a month. I don't like a lot of emails, so once a month only for me, people. So you won't see me blowing up your email, so you're good.
Well, that works. And thanks so much, Leonardo. Leonardo, I see you in the chat here talking about the defense and how this is definitely causing us to like wake up a bit. And I definitely believe you're correct. I think that this has in the gun community spirit a lot of influenced a lot of people to become more like preppers when it
Mhm.
comes to defensive things. It's like, oh yeah, I'm gonna buy and stock up on this ammunition here. I'm gonna buy and stock up on this type of gun, this type of gun, that type of gun to make sure that I have what I need in case, the apocalypse happens or a zombie apocalypse or whatnot. But yeah, it's one of those things where we feel like now we have to be more prepared than ever because we
Yeah,
never know what we can really afford or not, depending on how much these things cost.
yeah.
So yeah. I'm curious for those viewers out there. I'm curious, what things have you began to stock up on right now? Like to just be prepared. I mean, I hope we're not still trying to stock up on tissue and then we're going to have a shortage on tissue again. I really hope that doesn't happen again. But yeah, let me know what things you guys are stocking up on. You might, teach me a couple things about that. Yeah, so definitely it's one of those things that tissue, oh gosh, that drove me crazy. I was like, of all things, COVID didn't even cause diarrhea. Why would we worry about tissue so much? So when it comes to the whole thing about regulations, do you encounter a lot of, I would say, like barriers with language when it comes to this? How is it easily accessible for language? Because I would imagine if I'm trying to communicate with like the French about something because I need to import or export something from or to there, how
Mhm.
do you go and navigate through that?
So, a lot of times when I do speak to the suppliers, they do most of the time speak English. Sometimes you come across some that don't. Use
Mhm.
Google Translate or something like that. I've done that before. Google Translate.
Oh, okay.
I've actually had someone translate for me before. So lots of different
Mhm.
to what you can use. That's the best thing I could think of right now, actually.
That makes a lot of sense. I mean, I think that would work. I mean, it's amazing what type of technology we have out there, honestly. So it's a blessing to be able to do something like that. I mean, I've worked with plenty of students at the range who their first language is not English, or maybe they don't even speak English at all. I've actually dealt with people who don't even they can't even hear. So so it's like different things like that. We have to find different ways to be able to communicate with one another, and so that's amazing that internationally you have to deal with so many cultures and different understanding and different language on a day-to-day basis. So I'm sure you had some things that you can use. So it looks like Mike, you said you're stocking up on ammo. Global Glock 45 is stocking up on Glocks as usual. What's the newest Glock, Global Glock? I'm curious. Which the newest one you have? Okay. Michael, you're stocking up on gold. That's a good one. DMV renovation, you said money. Hey, I hear you on that. All of the above. Okay. Looks like me and D got some work to do. Keep up with you guys. So when it comes to all of these tariffs and things like that, I just like to encourage you all to understand that, life be life and I get it. But that doesn't mean we just need to stop and give up and all this. No, we're gonna keep going. We're gonna pivot. We're gonna find out what we can do to make life easier and better for us. So if that means that, okay, I'm not gonna go to the grocery store anymore to buy, I don't know, strawberries, because I'm gonna go in my backyard and I'm gonna plant me some strawberries. So I'm going to plant me some strawberries right in my house and I'm going to grow them. These are things that we could possibly do to better our life and make things easier for us. So I would encourage you guys to find some new things that's going to better your life and cause less stress than the money that we might have to spend on some things. So, any advice for us out here as far as these tariffs are related, or any type of import and export type of advice that you have for us?
Mainly is just do your research before you import something. So I could touch upon the issue I have with one of my clients right now. They decided to import wine, have a wine shipment on hold. I think their storage charges are close to $3,000 because their paperwork wasn't done properly. So they have a COLA waiver, which is a certificate of late approval, and the waiver is not for their actual company, for another company. So the little fine details that I tell you guys about, those little things matter. List the customs broker before you ship anything, that look over all your paperwork, because now he's spending so much money just on fees, and I don't know if he's going to be able to get his shipment in time. So we'll see what happens, but I like to help people out in advance, so I do a lot of the research when they reach out to me. I actually have some information on my screen about some Glocks. I did research some information on Glocks. I know you guys are all about guns, so I was trying to be prepared for you guys. But yeah, do your research in advance. Once you know what you have to comply with, that can save you a lot of money. So
Mhm.
you want to find ways to save, enlist a broker in advance, have them review what you're doing before you ship it out. Make sure you understand what your duties are before you ship. Does it make sense? If it's cost you too much money to ship it, ship it. So doing that research in advance, understanding all the things that possibly happen when you're shipping. So my clients, I've been telling them, customs, every government agency in general, customs does do random inspections and stuff like that. So you may think your shipment's coming in, they decide they're going to do an intensive exam that's going to check all your stuff. You have to pay them to check. So usually
Oh
the fees
wow.
run about $1,000. So I tell people, like, this is something that can happen at any moment. If they notice a lot of compliance issues with you, they might start giving you more exams. So you want to make sure you do all your research, you have all your documentation. They You maintain your records for 5 years, because can go back to 5 years. Even if you cleared your shipment, they can request more information. So is your paperwork in order? So it's very important, because you can get it moment. You got to be prepared. So every time I work on shipments, I finish them, I upload the docs into my system, and I have them waiting just in case. If customers request more information, I give them more information. I had a client who ordered an engine from China. Customers requested information because they wanted to impose anti-dumping slash countervailing duties on the shipment. So I had to work with my importer and tell them, okay, well, I read through the scope ruling, which they have ruling to describe the type of product that they want to impose that on. And I told him, well, send me a manual and pictures of the engine that you have. So I did a lot of research. I actually wrote about it on my website too. It's on the good. You click on the website and you click on good advice. It's a blog post on it. But I basically looked up the engine family, and looked up. EA has a list of engines on there. Describe the type of engine that it was. It was the engine that didn't have to have the extra duties on it. We wrote up a letter. We gave them like detailed description, and we even listed that they can check EPA website as well, and he didn't have to pay any extra duties. But the thing is, you want to respond to customers right away. Don't leave them hanging, because then they're gonna be like, oh well, what's going on? This person's not in compliance. They're gonna look into it further. So you should be responding within probably not even more than 2 days. You want to get all your stuff over to them right away. So the importer actually wrote the letter, but I decided to write it better, just to make it. I want to make sure he was really gonna get I put the pictures in the letter and everything like that, and I highlight things. I had the reporter look it over. I sent it over, and then they said he was good after that. So I saved the letter just in case they ask me. I save it in my system. So I'm like, I have confirmation from the officer that it's good. So save all your records. If you ever receive a lot of things I like to do through email, because that's the best proof you can give the customs that you did your due
Mhm.
diligence, you research everything that you're supposed to do. Do your research, save everything. If you
Yeah.
speak to someone and on the phone and they don't write it down, you have to write down the date, the time, who you spoke to, what they said. Write it down, because you had to find. That's the only way you can save yourself. If you do something wrong, you're not in compliance. You can show them all the things you did to try to be in compliance. So hopefully they will mitigate the penalties. They won't charge you like the full amount. These are the
Mhm.
things I could suggest. But if all these steps, if you're not doing research, if you're not saving your documentation, if you don't know what you're importing, you're going to run into issues. So do all these to prevent that.
And that makes a lot of sense. And you're right. I mean, keep those documents and make sure because they can definitely, wow, they can come back. I
Hmm.
would imagine like we did this before. Why we need to go back? Like,
Yeah,
ooh,
they
I'm glad you said
or
that because I would totally throw them papers away.
oh yeah, have to keep those.
Yeah. So I'm looking back in this chat box area here, and I'm seeing 6.2 liter Hemi power. Now that sounds like a vehicle I love right there. Okay. Okay. But I'm gonna say, is that a Jeep? Are we talking about a Jeep? Because I do love the Hemi engine Jeep. Okay. But buy it cheap and stack it deep. As far as a response to someone was asking about how can we save money, I agree with that. But gotta be mindful about what buying cheap really means. So when it comes to ammunition, just a little tip for you guys to take with you. Indoor range does not like steel ammunition. Okay. Well, when I say steel ammunition, I mean steel bullets. So the steel ammunition typically is less expensive than our brass. However, it's great for outdoor use, but not necessarily an indoor range use because it causes too many sparks and can cause a fire. So be mindful of that. You can buy steel casing with most ranges, but the bullet itself has to be, from the brass. Okay. So that keep that in mind when you are buying cheaper to still read and make sure that it's still compliant with the things that you need and how you need it to operate. Now, Global Glock would also agree with me on this. Don't go out there buying some daggone what's that gun? Oh gosh. Oh, D help me with this gun and Global Glock help me with this gun. What are some cheap guns that people tend to buy just because it's inexpensive but it really sucks in using it? So so just thinking about High Point, that's the name of the gun I was thinking off the top of my head. Don't go out there buying a High Point and expecting it to work like our global Glocks, okay? Or even out my beloved Sig Sauer. It's not gonna work the same. It's not gonna feel the same. They both gonna go boom, but how much you can accept that recoil and how it works is the question. So doesn't always mean that cheaper is okay. So be mindful of that. Do your research, okay? So when do you think the prices will hit us? DMV Renovations was asking.
I'm sure they're probably already hitting, honestly. So when Trump was president last time, he put the 25% tariffs on China, and he also put 15%. Then some of them reduced to from 15 to 7.5%. Those have not went away. So the extra China tariffs he has now is in addition, so it could be higher. I thought it was actually going to go away when we had another president, when Biden was president, but he didn't remove them. So I thought it was just another. Remember, that's income for the government. Customs duties. That, yeah,
Wait. I'm sorry. We gotta wait. We gotta revisit on this for just a second, okay?
yeah,
So you mean to tell me President Trump already imposed tariffs when he was in office the last time? And if we, meaning we as in people like myself, didn't know this already, we would assume that this is the first time he's doing something like this. But no, he's been doing this all along.
yeah. He
So
did it before. So that's why I'm kind of surprised people are surprised by what he's doing. I was like, he's done this last time. So it was a big headache last time. It wasn't as intense as it is now. So he most definitely upped the ante with this one. But he's targeting other countries now. So before it was only China, but now it's way like you see all countries 10%. So it's
mhm.
he's like I said, tariffs are a leveraging tool. He's using it to get certain things he wants to happen to change. So if you
Mhm.
guys notice in the news, I think some car manufacturers are starting work on buildings here in America, which is what he wanted. So it is working the stuff that he wants. I don't know what the price is going to be, but it's going to work to get some of those things back here in the U.S. So we have to wait and see what happens. There's also a lot of industries that are affected. I know farmers are affected right now because
Mhm.
excuse me, a lot of farmers export, so that's affecting them as well too.
Yeah, I mean, because honestly, eggs cost $1,000 now per 12. Like, so realistically, I can only understand how it's affecting them. I mean, when I say I was so upset that I was needing to pay about what $8 for a small thing of strawberries, I was in my feelings. So now that the prices have come down a bit, I'm so excited. Like, okay, this is more reasonable. And the eggs, I don't even know what the price is no more. I refuse to look. You know, honestly, I stopped looking at gas prices. I feel like when Obama was in office, I literally stopped looking. I decided I'm going to go to this gas pump and I'm going to put the 20, 30, $40, $50 or whatever I'm going to put in there and that's it. I don't even care what the price is anymore. I don't even care. I don't even want to know the gas price. So I literally don't even keep up with that. And that's what bothers me about shopping for groceries, where it's like, you might be on a budget or whatever. I have to stay within a certain budget. So I have to know the prices of the groceries. I can't shop the same way I do with that as I do when I go and buy gas. And I definitely can't shop like that buying my guns. I got to know the prices because I got to do, price matches and whatnot. So
Mhm.
you guys definitely do your research, definitely read, try to find out some places that might be American made products for you to be able to use. And maybe that would, cost, that would help you with the cost of things. So someone also asked, the Renovations asked, how long do we think that this quote unquote beef with China is going to last?
Well, like I said, when Trump was president, that's when it started. So I don't know when it's how long it's gonna last.
Hmm.
I keep seeing the tariff rates go up higher and higher, which is me. I'm not sure honestly. Um,
Yeah.
it's gonna do a lot of damage though because all the, what happens is all these tariffs, that money has to go back the client that they're gonna charge. So us, the consumers, are going to have to pay that money. So when
Hmm.
imposing tariffs and he thinks he's imposing it and affecting those, it is affecting countries overseas, but it's also affecting us here, and probably worse because we have to pay that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we're getting hurt by it. So
Hmm.
expect everything to go up in every industry.
Right. Right.
Mhm.
I hear you. So when it comes to all of these things, my takeaway from this today is just literally making sure that we read. I mean, honestly, read. Try to find whatever bargain deals you can find, but make sure that the product is still a quality product. Because in the gun community, we want to make sure we're safe. So we don't want to buy anything too cheap and expensive, and it doesn't function the way we need it to function. But I do want to say that also just appreciate you coming in here, explaining this to us. I learned a lot today. I'm pretty sure everyone here can say the same, that they learned a lot today. And I look forward to us having a real sit down in the metaverse. Guys, we have an interview coming in the metaverse. So we're going to talk about all the ins and outs of what it is that Miss Jermeale does on a day-to-day basis. So if you want to know more about what it is she's doing, definitely stay tuned to the channel. Definitely subscribe and press the notification button so you can stay tuned when her interview actually debuts. So thank you so much for joining. Honestly, you guys have a great night. And thank you so much, Jamil, for joining us today.
Thank you.
You're welcome. You guys have a great night. I'll see you guys next time.